I was on Twitter the other day. I was scrolling on Twitter, and I try not to do that, but I do. It's addictive. It's not as addictive as TikTok, which is the problem. The TikTok algorithm, they say, is the most addictive. But Twitter is, now it's a little more fun now than it was. It's always been crazy. But so I go through it, and I came across these kids that were yelling about Biden. And Twitter's, they're like young dudes screaming about Biden, about that they love Biden. It's hilarious. It almost felt like trolling, but it wasn't. That they love Biden and that Gen Z is going to elect Biden and all that stuff. And usually on Twitter, it's the little Nazi kids that are always chirping about how like the band, their band teacher made them trans again or something else, which may or may not be true. But it's usually that's the contingent that I see a lot. I guess maybe that's who follows me or whatever. But I saw these kids and I thought it was like a joke. And I've been trying to get David Hogg on the show. We tried to get David Hogg on the show. David Hogg will not come on the show. I don't know what he's afraid of, or maybe he just, loathes me. I don't know. But I'm watching these freaks, right? And they're just screaming and yelling about Biden and Gen Z. And I invited them on the show. And I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised that you said yes. And you're here.
Yeah, of course. In LA for some odd reason.
And you're here and you're doing it.
Yeah.
And you were told not to do it by a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's right.
But, just having fun. Gotta have some fun.
What's the deal with you? Because everybody says you're like paid by the DNC. Everybody says you're shills, right? Or a lot of people, not everybody, but there's a group of people on the internet saying that because you guys scream at your phone, you have very passionate videos about that you love Biden, who's a man of what, 70 years your senior? How old is he?
He's 80 now, I think.
He's 80. Can you move the mics closer if you're going to be that quiet? I mean, you've never been that quiet in your life.
Oh, sorry. We're kind of loud now.
All you do is yell. And this is like, now you're being like soft-spoken and quiet and considerate. All you've done is scream. And now this is the first time you're fucking. So Biden's how old is he? 80?
He's like 80, I think.
So he's 80.
Yeah.
And you're how old?
I'm 20.
So he's 60 years.
That's right.
Older than you. But okay, so a lot of people in the Trump world, he's older too.
Yeah.
Are you guys paid DNC shills?
No, that's just like a conspiracy that's been crafted on Twitter specifically in the recent days, that we've received money from the DNC. We've never received money from the DNC. If the DNC was paying people, we should be first in line with how much we promote Biden.
Yeah, because you put out all of these videos all the time. You should get money.
Yeah.
I mean, go get money. If you're not getting money, go get money.
Well, and we've received $0 from the DNC for it. And like, I don't know, it's just been a crazy couple of days, as you've seen. There's been like 70 million views on this story. And for us, it's just a little frustrating because, like real issues going on. There's actual things affecting real Americans. And we're trying to like talk about that stuff. We're not trying to talk about the DNC paying people, which is not even real.
Yeah. When did you get into this? Why do you care so much? I've always found that a declining society, and I think the great Anna Hassan of Red Scare said this, a society really starts to crumble when women and young people get involved in politics. Politics should be for kind of, boring men in gray suits. And when women and young people feel the need, it's like the Hitler Youth, right? When women and young people get involved, it's a problem. So why do you keep screaming about that Gen Z should be involved? Why should Gen Z get involved in anything?
Well, to be honest, like two creepy men approached me and knocked on my door 5 months ago, and they were like, "We'll give you X amount of money."
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I just feel like Gen Z's, different. We've never seen America in like real peace, right? We were born after 9/11. We got into the war on terror. We've had like 3 recessions, right? And so like a lot of us are just very passionate because it feels like we're getting fucked all the time, just fucked.
All I can say is I have sympathy for the school shooting thing.
Of course.
I'll listen to you guys on that. All the other issues, I'm not willing to listen to you guys because I understand that you are getting shot in school.
Yeah.
And many of you can't handle that. You're not tough enough to handle it. So I understand why that bothers you. But do you understand how your content can be cringy when like I'm looking at it and you're literally like, Gen Z's gonna step on your fucking throat. Joe Biden's you understand that why do you choose to do it like that?
I don't know. It's bad. Like in hindsight, some of it's very cringe, right? But like I don't know, maybe I'm just a cringy guy. Like I'm just passionate. I just turn on the camera and I just start screaming about what I'm passionate about and I just post.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
who
it's
cares?
like trying to like convey to the audience the severity of the issue and the passion we have around it. So like I've screamed a lot about like, you know, AR-15s and how I think we should ban them. Like the
And
fact
that makes people really upset.
it makes people really upset.
Older people get really angry, and then they send you photos with their AR-15.
Yeah, and then, you know, I've gotten a lot of people telling me that they've bought more AR-15s because of me. Like they're just freaks. You know what I'm saying?
Harry Sisson's driving sales of AR-15.
Yeah, you're actually making the whole
Apparently,
situation
I'm
worse.
making the gun
making it worse.
Okay.
industry a lot of money because of my
Okay.
screaming. But yeah, I mean, I just like, as you said, like on school shootings, for example, like, you know, we've said this in our videos that, you know, our generation and young people are like traumatized by gun violence.
Sure.
You know, we can't go to schools, movie theaters, malls without thinking, am I next? Or
But you understand when there are people that the guns are not only a part of their culture, but it's the way that they feel like they protect their family. And I think there should be more restrictions on guns too. I agree with you. But there are people, for example, that, you know, feel that those guns are necessary to secure their freedom, in the sense that, you know, I mean, look what a few years ago we had riots in most major American cities that for 2 months went on. You know, we had crazy shit going on. And then, you know, we had people saying, let's defund and abolish police so that, you know, the idea of people having weapons and even AR-15s, a lot of people think that it may be necessary because things might degenerate further.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's like catastrophizing that, you know, the United States, right? I think like
That's the new name of the show. That is my show. Catastrophizing the United States.
Yeah, it seems
Copyright,
it seems-
trademark.
It seems a little extreme. Like, why can't we just start with like, you know, like 95% of Americans agree with like universal background checks. Like, why can't we just start there?
I'm not opposed to more regulations and restrictions. I'd have to get into the weeds of what they would be, but I don't necessarily disagree with you there. I disagree with a lot of the other stuff that you guys say, but not all of it. 100%. I don't disagree with I've always said if I spoke to ISIS, I would agree with a lot of what they said. If I sat down with ISIS and they made points, I go, well, that one makes
my
sense. I
God.
get it. But why did you become so impassioned about politics at a young age? You've been making videos, Harry, for how long?
like 3 years now.
And it's literally been 5 months for me.
And it's been 5 months for you.
5 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, as young people, we're more connected to the world than ever. You know, we have our phones and there's news everywhere. And just reading a lot of it, I'm like, I feel like I can't just like sit here and do nothing. Like I feel like I have to get involved. And, you know, what's the best way to get involved right now and make a message heard? Social media.
And yeah, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, I don't think enough people realize like it's all Trump, right? Harry and I, like very much a lot of this political field is just, we all looked at the TV at like 15 years old. We saw Donald Trump lying all the time, 24/7. He's a freak. And we just got super passionate about like, this is not the direction we can go. And so at the end of the day, like it's actually Trump's, it's Trump's fault.
Do you not think that most, if not all, politicians bend the truth to serve themselves?
Yes, but not like Donald Trump.
I do think Trump does tell whoppers.
I've talked about this extensively. It's like Trump's on a whole new propaganda level. It's disgusting.
Well, there's a lot of people that would say that the American government, for a very, very long time, has been very dishonest with its citizens. This is something that...
Can you give me an example?
Can I give you an example of the American
that was stupid.
government
I'm going to stop.
being
Just stop.
dishonest with
talking.
its citizens?
Well, of course, it happens. But like...
But what I'm saying to you is like, you can make it all about Trump if you'd like, but there's a lot of people that... you know, feel that when you guys, you're very, it very much seems that when you're talking, it feels a little North Korea-ish. You feel like you're just talking about one side,
right?
And you're saying, and I don't know, I've never seen a video of you guys criticizing Democrats. I've never seen a video of you guys being introspective at all. You know, in the sense that like, you know, it just seems like you're cheerleaders for one side instead of going, hey, I'm a young guy, I want to be involved. And I'm passionate about this, but like, yeah, maybe our side isn't perfect in this way and that way.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like it's actually really hard in this space, right? Like we have like 45 seconds to record a video, keep people's attention. And a lot of the people on our side, like if they start hearing, like I've actually done it before. I've criticized like Democrats, like specifically Hakeem Jeffries, and it all just went south. Like I started losing followers. Like it's bad, right? And I really want to be that person that like reaches the other side because Democrats, I mean, they're horrible at their jobs, right? They do a lot of shitty things, although I'll vote for them all the time. But it's also hard in the space to criticize
That's a
them.
good. Can we clip that quote? They're horrible
Please
at their
don't.
jobs. They
Please,
do shitty
please,
things.
please don't.
God
Please
damn
don't.
it.
Please
I will
don't
vote
clip
for
that.
them.
Please, no,
God
no,
damn it.
please,
By the
please
way,
don't do
I
it.
would say the same. I would say the same thing about most party machine politicians. I would say I don't think you're wrong. I think it's the lesser of two evils argument that people have had forever. What you just said is pretty much where the American people are. A lot of people think Democrats and Republicans are both horrible at their jobs, and the people that vote for them are still going to vote for them based on whatever self-interest they have. I don't think that's actually that crazy. What I think though is like when you're so young and you're yelling and you have people that have had so much more life experience than you can imagine how it looks to people that are older and they see you guys and they go, these kids, I mean, even though you're not kids, you're adults, you're young men, but they go, they don't fucking have any idea what they're talking about. Maybe Harry, you obviously you're from Langley, Virginia. You have a little bit more, but then Chris, they found you in like a Waffle House.
Yeah.
So people, I had no idea George Soros ate in Waffle Houses. But the point is like, so what do you guys do? I go on Twitter sometimes, and you and the little MAGA freaks, you guys all yell at each other and stuff for 4 hours a night. Shouldn't you be doing drugs and getting laid? Isn't that more fun than screaming about Kamala Harris? Isn't this a weird way to spend your young adulthood?
It is, yeah.
The human truths are so much deeper than just politics. So whenever I see somebody, like it's all the same type of freaks, and it's just young guys in suits with these vacant looks in their eyes, and they got a photo with Trump or a photo with Biden, and you're all just and I guess it's necessary because that's the next generation of fucking people that are gonna come and ruin the country. But what's the pitch for Joe Biden?
Oh man, I mean, do you want me to go down the list?
Go down the list.
All right, I won't go into detail on each one, but I think generally his presidency has been incredibly successful in terms like one of the most productive presidents in modern American history, undoubtedly. The American Rescue Plan, the bipartisan infrastructure deal, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the PACT Act, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, rejoining the WHO, historic judicial nominees, first black woman on the Supreme Court, the child tax credit,
But I mean, I bet
capping
the first
insulin
one,
at $35
by
a
the
month
way,
for Medicare.
First black woman on the Supreme Court. What? Like, I'm that's good.
I mean, but she's also like aside from that, just putting an extremely qualified nominee on the Supreme Court. I mean,
okay, but say that. Say.
I think it's a combination of things.
Say like a first black woman who's an amazingly qualified,
And we've spoken, and I've
because
spoken. to her
otherwise we're just
qualifications.
checking boxes. It doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, I've spoken to her qualifications, but what the point is there is that she is obviously far more qualified than any of the nominees that Trump put on. So it's like, do you want qualified people, like political ideology aside? Do you want qualified people, or do you just want people who are going to rule in
Brett
Trump?
Kavanaugh is qualified. Amy Coney Barrett's qualified. You may disagree with them.
Amy Coney Barrett is nowhere near as qualified like Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Well, listen. Well, define qualifications in that sense.
Just time served. Like Amy Coney Barrett only had a very short amount of time actually serving as a judge, whereas Ketanji Brown Jackson had far more experience. Worked more in the field prior to being a judge, and her opinions were more consistent. Like Amy Coney Barrett had a lot of like inconsistencies.
Well, now we're politicizing it. So
Well,
we're just going to go with but whatever. So all of these things, the CHIPS Act, the American Rescue Plan.
That's right.
Okay. We do have massive inflation.
That's right.
We have an economy that is by I think the admission of Democrats doesn't work for everybody, right? I mean, this is something they keep, what has Biden really, really done to help people who are really struggling, whose kids do not have maybe enough food to eat, or, because it seems like a lot of the same policies. It's just a very similar, kind of establishment Democrat, middle of the road guy. I mean, we still have a lot of people, millions and millions of them without health care, right? I mean, we still have, we have vast chasms of income inequality, which I mean, imagine will persist, right?
Yep.
Joe Biden has he done anything to back down, these mega corporations from kind of eating everybody?
I mean, yeah, like he, worked to cap insulin at $35 with Eli Lilly, right? That was a big win for like pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
Unemployment's the lowest it's been in 54 years. Inflation's gone down 7 or 8 months in a row or whatever, right? So I think it's about the fact that we're stepping in the right direction. And again, comes back to the point that like Trump and that like side of politics is like not the right direction. Like we need to start moving toward sane people, and we can get to fixing those issues
Is
down
it
the road.
sane to have a proxy war with Russia in the Ukraine? Is it sane to have a foreign policy that pushes China and Russia closer together? Is it sane to isolate a country that has more nuclear weapons than any other country and push them into a direction where their only friends are other enemies of America, other totalitarian regimes? Is that a sane foreign policy? Is that a sane foreign policy?
I would say that.
Is it a sane cultural, domestic policy to say that children have a constitutional right to puberty blocking hormones?
I mean, to both of those things. So like,
Which
they're
just
obviously
came
very,
out
like,
recently.
They're very nuanced issues. Like, they're very complex.
Yes.
So yes,
4-year-olds having a constitutional
No,
right
not
to block
even.
puberty.
Not
Explain
even.
the nuance.
not even.
Let's go with the nuance.
There's obviously more to this. The more to the
There is,
conversation,
yes.
of course. So in Ukraine, yes, we do. I mean, I can't speak for Chris, but I obviously support
The Nazis in the Ukraine.
No, not. There's bad people everywhere. We don't support that, but we support.
But those are the people fighting the
Ukraine's-
war in the Ukraine.
Not all.
The
Not all.
Azov Battalion and a lot of their special forces are avowed neo-Nazis.
Not all.
Which is okay. Listen, let's just be honest about it. We're supporting those We like those Nazis. They're the good Nazis.
Well, it's not that we want to support Nazis. It's that, an anti-democracy enemy is invading a pro-democracy ally.
Didn't Ukraine ban a lot of the pro-Russian parties after the last election? Is that democratic? Weren't there pro-Russian parties in the Ukraine
Well, there's the
that
pro-Russian-
operated and they were banned? That doesn't feel like democracy to me.
The pro-Russian parties were doing a lot of harm in Ukraine. Now, obviously, like, I don't agree with that. I'm not here to be a spokesman.
But this
for
idea,
Ukraine.
if we want to talk about nuance, which I love nuance.
Me too.
I love nuance. And we're going to say, do you think America is out there? Do you think the American foreign policy is about spreading democracy and securing democracy?
I think it's more than just like preserving democracy. Obviously, I don't think the.
Oh, it's a lot. It seems
a lot
to be
more.
a lot more.
It's a lot more, but
it's a lot more.
I think it's in the United States' interest to not have Russia get stronger. And I think that's like at the core of this. Like,
Do you
Ukraine
think-
has a lot of raw materials.
But Russia's becoming now an ally, and they've been pushed together with China.
They were always allies. Russia and,
Yeah,
and,
but this
and China
is
were always
now,
allies.
we've isolated Russia. They've now gone and said, who's our one friend? Oh, our one friend is China. Now you're looking at this Eastern alliance. So I agree with you. Obviously, you don't want to make Russia stronger, but we've also put Russia into a corner by supporting Ukraine the way that we have, by not going in there and urging any type of peace deal. We've put Russia in the position of two outcomes. One, they are demoralized and they leave the country in defeat. There's an almost certain coup. Putin's ousted. He knows that. Or that they leave and say, sorry, our bad. Or the second option, they use nuclear weapons or they continue to fight in Ukraine. We've done nothing to bring about any resolution here where Russia can save face and we can have some type of solution. It seems like it's a very foolhardy foreign policy to isolate Russia in the way that we have and basically give them two options: absolute total defeat, or God forbid them using a nuclear weapon or the continuation of this war and the death of more Ukrainians.
Well, to be clear, the United States and Ukraine have reached out to Russia to have peace talks.
Yeah,
like they've tried extensively. And on your China
It's
point,
actually been reported that we've discouraged peace
No,
talks.
I think that's
that's actually
fake
been
news,
incredibly
fake news.
reported.
Not-
It's
not
incredibly
from credible
reported.
Because that source, right? I think Boris Johnson went to Ukraine and talked to Zelensky or something.
Well, first of all, we're the United States. NATO, we are giving them all the money. We're giving them all the weapons. How hard are we pushing peace talks if we're literally flooding the country with weapons? We're not requiring them. We should literally say, you need to have peace talks or we're not going to fund this war with no end in
I
sight.
think the idea was that we're not going to start talking peace until Russia agrees to, stop just mass murdering civilians and committing war crimes.
It's a war, and that's unrealistic.
Okay,
you have to come to the table.
Exactly. So
So I'm just saying, when you're talking about sanity, you say Donald Trump's a lunatic. I might agree with you, but I see 4 years of Donald Trump. We're not in a lot of foreign entanglements. We're not on the verge of a real problem with Russia and China, to be honest. I'm seeing right now this bellicose foreign policy led by neocons, war hawks, who are now all on the Democratic side. Bill Kristol hates Donald Trump. All of these guys that supported the Iraq war hate Donald Trump. They are now all apparat chicks for Biden's administration. They're on MSNBC. They are pushing war. They are pushing the continuation of not only this war, they're pushing maybe further conflicts with China. So to me, when you talk about sanity, I say to myself, that seems insane.
But to be clear, it's like the idea that we're pushing Russia and China closer together is not, I don't think, founded in fact. Russia and China have always been close together, and China have specifically come out very publicly and said that we disavow this. We want Russia to be peaceful. We want an end to this war. Now, might there be more trade? Possibly. But I think that we can't just sit while other countries are getting invaded. Like if we were just like, well, we don't really want to get involved. Let's just have all these
American
countries.
interest in the Ukraine, and what is our vital national security interest in the Ukraine? What is our vital national security? And I remember, I'm old enough to remember when people were going, we don't really have a vital national security interest in Iraq. We shouldn't spend 20 years where defense contractors get rich and cities like Detroit fall. As you said, we have all of these problems domestically in our country, and these wars enrich a small percentage of the population at the expense of a lot of people in this country that need help. Are those billions of dollars that are going to the Ukraine not better served in America?
Well, I think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? So we can address foreign policy while also addressing domestic policy in places that really needs it. And that's why I think Joe Biden's been great. He's been able to do both at the same time.
He's done neither, but go on.
He's
Done more domestically.
both.
I think more, if your argument domestically, he's done more. His foreign policy seems a little bit like a mess.
I don't know if
Because I
it's
think
a
they're going to
mess.
make the same deal in the Ukraine that they could have made a year ago with a lot less bloodshed and a lot less death. And if that happens, it's going to seem like we unnecessarily helped prolong this conflict.
I don't know.
Do you think the Ukraine is going to win this war?
It's going to be like another 5 years of
Bloodshed and
yeah,
chaos.
and
Well,
then-
doesn't that seem
and then
fun?
it'll
With
be
a nuclear
peace.
power.
It's the way it's the way the cards fall. Like he said, Russia is invading a democratic state at the end of the day. What do you want us to do? Just not involve ourselves? We did that once, in the 40s, and then Germany was on the beaches of Dunkirk, right? So we just have
I'm
to
not
make a
saying
decision.
listen, in the very beginning, we did involve us. We did a lot of things. We did sanctions. We did this. We did that.
That's right.
What we are now doing is we're now essentially fighting a proxy war. If NATO it's NATO weaponry that the Ukrainians are fighting, it gets very murky as to whether Russia and NATO are fighting a war. And so to me, I will drop both of you off in Poland. I will drop both of you off in Poland, and you can go and yell into yell
right.
into your phones and be like, Vladimir Putin, I'm here with the Nazis in the Ukraine, and you better watch out because we're about to fuck you up. Gen Z doesn't care. That's why we're here in Kyiv. And you could do things with Zelensky.
Yeah.
I actually like both of you. I disagree with you on a lot of things, but I do like you. You're cool dudes. I think you're a little nuts. I think the content is a little much. Are you planning on just doing this through the entire election of just screaming in your phone?
I think so.
I think like there's room for some cool projects. So we really don't even have it figured out yet, like what we're going to do in 2024. But that's kind of the plan as of now.
Okay.
Yeah, just day by day, man.
Where can people follow you? I know everybody's screaming and yelling at you now, but where can they follow you? If people want to follow you, if you want to hear Gen Z's.
Yeah, I was about to say, how many of your followers actually want to follow us?
I don't know. Some of them
We'll
might.
see.
I can't tell you what they'll say to you.
It's
But some of them might want to follow you.
Well, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all Harry J. Sisson.
Yeah.
And you can come see me scream about how Gen Z is going to rip your throat out and things
Yes.
Right.
Harry Sisson at langley.com. And then you're Chris Mowry at wafflehouse.gov.
Right, it's Chris.
At raisingcanes.net.
It's Chris Mowry on Twitter and TikTok, and I'll just scream. People think I'm acting.
I just can't wait till like one day you guys are like at Bohemian Grove screaming into your phones and everyone's like, why did we invite them? Why did we invite them?
Yeah, right.
I respect the hell out of you guys for coming on. David Hogg won't come on.
Likewise. Well,
A lot of people won't come on. I respect you guys for coming on.
I think not enough people, like as much as like I really like Democrats and I like Joe Biden, not enough people will like just go out. They want to stay in the bubble, right?
What do you like about Joe Biden? Is he even alive? Does he even know he's
Oh,
alive?
I mean, he does.
I
He
mean,
does.
what
He's-
do you like? I mean, I know some people like him. Like Louis C.K. and me talk all the time, and Louis actually likes him. But, I mean, he's kind of folksy and old, I guess. That's cool.
But I mean, at the end of the day, he's productive, right? And he passes good policy that's good for young people and objectively good for.
Yeah, I think the nuclear war will be great for young people. There's nothing that young people are going to like more than the nuke. Than the nuclear war.
Russia wouldn't be so stupid. They're not going to be that stupid.
I hope they're not that stupid.
I don't think they are.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I hope
middle
that-
ground.
Well, the middle ground is like, I agree with the idea that the hope that this does not get there. But I do think it's a foolhardy policy that we are pursuing over there. I believe that. And a lot of people are now starting to believe that, which is why the American government, Biden's government, is actually starting to question it internally. And they're leaking stuff, and there's more stuff coming out in the press about, like, if this spring offensive fails on the side of the Ukraine, we might have to start pulling back. We've given an inordinate amount of money and resources to this project, and I think we're starting to see. Now, if that happens, people are going to ask a lot of questions about why we spent all that money and why that money wasn't used in America.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to see what happens and let it play out. You know, it's been proven time and time again that Ukraine is doing a lot better than people thought. And
they listen, I will say one thing about the Ukraine. They're tougher. They're tough motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
And listen, I didn't want them to obviously be invaded, and I would love if Russia got out of there, and I'd love if everything worked out and was peaceful. I'm just looking at the world as it is and not the way that I would want it to be.
Sure.
Right. Well, I mean,
and I know that those two countries have a deep and complex history, and it's not as easy. And there are things in those countries that are not, it's not easy. We can't throw it all into a TikTok or a meme.
Right. And but like, I think it's forgotten that, the however 44 billion or however much money we've sent to Ukraine, like that's the entire reason that, Russia's not knocking on Poland right now, right? Like,
no, it's not.
Yeah,
no,
it is.
It's
It's all the
100%.
West. It's all the West.
That's not true.
It's the
Western
greatest.
funding.
It's one of the
Listen,
greatest.
the reality of the situation that arming Ukraine is preventing Russia from taking over the entire world is this neocon talking
no,
point that they're going to knock over Poland and then they're going to knock over every country
I didn't say
that's
that.
ever existed.
I said they'd be knocking on the doors of Poland if we didn't give them resources.
we with NATO expanding are encircling Russia with missiles. And if that was being done to us, if there were countries if China had missiles in Mexico, you would be damn sure we would respond.
I know, but I don't think like that's just like objectively not looking at the fact that like all those countries we started expanding on their borders. I mean, they're free to make their own decisions. They all asked to join NATO. We're not just.
But we have to look at the purpose of what NATO is.
Right.
You have to look at how Russia will respond. You have to look at the real politic of like how Russia will respond to certain things, right?
Right.
And the reality is the purpose of NATO was very clear after World War II, but is becoming a bit less clear right now in the sense of, what is the cost-benefit analysis of encircling a nuclear power led by Vladimir Putin, an autocrat who wants to preserve his sphere of influence in the world. So that's
But the thing about NATO is like, I think it's a little hyperbolic to be so critical of NATO, given the fact that NATO's entire mission is peace. Like, we're not encircling Russia to be like, haha, we got you now. We're saying...
Yes, well, there is part of it. Listen, NATO's entire mission is peace as defined by the American empire, meaning that peace, meaning the American empire does whatever it wants and countries like Russia don't. Now, that's fine coming from guys that sit here in America. But if you're Vladimir Putin, he's not looking at NATO's mission as being peace. Right. Russia's a country that's been consistently invaded throughout their history. They have bought many ads on this show.
Oh, yeah.
And no, but I'm saying like at the end of the day, when you say NATO's mission is peace, that's bullshit talking points.
It's not.
Lofty George Washington University first year poli-sci major crap. Right. That's like saying America's mission is democracy. This isn't true. It's control, it's power. And if you're Vladimir Putin and you're an autocrat, you got to deal with, you can't talk to Russia the way you talk to Iraq. Russia's not Iraq.
Yeah.
You can't go in there, put Putin in a hole. And, here, listen, I like you. It's been a half hour.
Damn.
We've done a half hour.
It's been a half hour?
Wow.
It's been a half hour. My new special, Tim Dillon, live from St. Petersburg. We're selling tickets right now. It's hugely successful. We're doing it at the Opera House where they do the Bolshoi Ballet, it's going to be beautiful, and I'm very excited. There is a little bit of a language barrier.
Just a little bit.
I'm obviously joking. I'm on the road, timdillacomedy.com. Follow Harry J. Sisson.
That's right.
And Chris.
Mowry.
Chris, what?
Dot Mowry. My last name, Mowry.
Where? Chris Mario on what? TikTok?
TikTok and Twitter.
Jesus
You can see me get
Christ.
ratioed on Twitter.
Yeah, we get ratioed a lot.
Oh, just destroy.
I'm gonna ratio you somehow.
You could, dude.
I'm gonna have
You
all my
could.
people. No, I mean, listen, it's politics. Everybody's fucking nuts. That's the point, right? All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.